Wenden wir uns einer kleinen Insel im Pazifik zu. Und wenn wir jetzt in diese Richtung laufen würden und nie aufhören und ein paar tausend Kilometer laufen, dann kommen wir eben in Taiwan an. Und Taiwan hat eine bewegte Geschichte und einen langen Konflikt mit China, der 1947 so richtig befeuert wurde, als nach einem Bürgerkrieg in China die unterlegene Kuomintang sich Taiwan als Rückzugsort ausgesucht hat. Und was folgte, war eine jahrelange Unterdrückung. Ein gewisser Umschwung hat 1987 begonnen, als vor allem die USA wirtschaftlich begonnen haben, dort zu investieren und Taiwan zu unterstützen. Vor allem natürlich hat sich Taiwan einen Namen gemacht durch die Produktion von Mikrochips. Und wir alle wissen, Mikrochips sind überall drin, in Ihrer Waschmaschine, in Ihrem Handy, in Ihrem Auto, überall. Die Liste ist schier unendlich. Und Taiwan hat sich zum weltweiten Produzenten Nummer 1 gemausert, was diese Mikrochips angeht. Dennoch, die Industrie steht langsam, aber sicher unter Druck, weil von allen Seiten möchte man sich natürlich ein Stück dieses riesigen, zukunftsorientierten Kuchens abschneiden. Und natürlich auch der Druck wegen dem aktuell herrschenden Handelskrieg zwischen den USA und China. Wie geht Taiwan mit diesen jüngsten Entwicklungen um und was ist die Bedeutung von diesem Staat für Europa und natürlich auch für die Schweiz? Diese Fragen beantwortet uns Taiwans Repräsentant in der Schweiz. Bitte begrüßen Sie Dr. David Huang. There you go. So, noch einmal ganz kurz die Erinnerung wegen der App, falls Sie die deutsche Übersetzung möchten, über die Syntax-App und sonst viel Vergnügen. Danke.
Well, first let me thanks the host, Mr. Baumann and the KMU Swiss Forum. This is a great opportunity for me to present Taiwan. I was asked by Mr. Baumann specifically to talk a little bit about Taiwan and its SMEs, then about the semiconductor and what would happen if the Taiwan stopped shipping out our microchips to the world. What will be the consequences? Has anybody really visited Taiwan before? Please raise your hand. Well, still, the majority of people never visit Taiwan. So if I can use one sentence to introduce Taiwan, Taiwan is so-called Oriental Switzerland. So if you know Switzerland, you probably know Taiwan a lot. Why this is the case? Because in terms of size of our land, it's almost about the same size. In Switzerland, you have 40,000 square kilometers. In Taiwan, we have 36,000 square kilometers. And 3/5 of land is occupied by high mountain. You are occupied by the Alps. So we have occupied by the central mighty mountains. The highest mountain in Taiwan is reached almost 4,000 meters. And here, of course, you have 4,000 and 3,000 meters mountains. And what's amazing is about the total GDP before the COVID between Taiwan and Switzerland is about identical. So I think that Switzerland is the 19th largest economy in the world. We are the 20th largest economy in the world. We should be invited into the G20s, but none of us invited into the G20s. We are the islands, yes. We are far away, but you are not much better than us because you are the inland surrounded by strong powers. So, in fact, I would argue that both Switzerland and Taiwan share the similar identical characteristics. We are short of resources. Most of our Taiwan's economy is pumped up with all our brand powers, just like you. So I think we have a perfect match between each others. Now, what about Taiwan is an island, just like this. What about the structures of our industries? I think most of our industries focus on the service sectors. 61% of our GDP are created by the service sectors, 36% by the manufacturing sector. In terms of agriculture, it's only about 1.5%. So I think they're pretty much similar to our Swiss profiles. What about our trade? It's also very similar. 43% of our trade go to China. And yet we have not pretty good relationship with China. 50% of your trade go to the European Union. I doubt it that you have a very good relationship with the European Union. So I think there are a lot of similarities here. So in terms of the national competitiveness, I think Swiss always ranked number one. But we are not so bad. You know, in the World Economic Forum, we are ranked number 12. In terms of the investment climate, we are ranked number 4. In terms of the easy of doing business, we have 15. So I think it's not much left behind. What about our important production sectors? You see that in Taiwan, we have the world number 1 is the so-called chip manufacturers, the foundries is world number 1. The chip testing and packaging sector is all world number 1. And we have the high-end bicycle, where that all our Swiss friends consume a lot, is world number 1. What about the number 2? We have a number 2 in the IC design. We have the so-called computer board. We have a small and medium LCD panel, is world number 2. And also, when you do the navigations devices also made in Taiwan. So we have pretty good the trade profile, industrial profile. At the same time, what about the Swiss and Taiwan trade? The bilateral trade between Switzerland and Taiwan in 2019 is about the 3.2 billions. But in 2022, it's reached 4.3 billions. So it's increasing. You know, bilateral trade between Switzerland and Taiwan is increasing. And of course, the investment, we still have a lot to do about the investment, because that the total investment of the Swiss investment in Taiwan only reached about 1 billion from 1952 to 2022. Almost 70 years, the Switzerland only invests $1 billion in Taiwan, whereas Taiwan only invests about 500,000 millions. 500,000 millions. So I think it's not much. I think we have a lot to do to each other. What about the sector of SME? Currently, we have about the 1.595 million SME in Taiwan. 98% of our company are actually SME, and 80% of our employees are contributed by the SMEs. So, and 80% of our SMEs are actually located in the service sectors. And about 19% of our SMEs are actually working in the manufacturing sectors, so industrial sectors. And if you think about the what is the SME, 46% of our SME is doing the wholesale and retail trade. So then you have this very, very large SME in a company in Taiwan. And yes, Taiwan still developed very, very strong semiconductor industries. I remember the founder of the TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, Morris Chang. When he established TSMC in 1980, late 1980s, he's starting from the garage. Only a few of his colleagues doing this kind of manufacture exercise. But then it grew up. So TSMC has become the largest OEM chip manufacturers companies. Now, the supply chain of semiconductor look like this. You know, R&D is led by United States. Production is led by the Taiwan. Assembly and packaging and testing is also led by Taiwan. And equipment is made by the ASML from the Netherlands. There's 3 categories of chips, and I don't want to go into the detail of this very technical one. But just for your information, you know, in terms of your mobile phone, it's about 30% and 30% of the different kind of chips. DAO chips, logic, and memory chips is about 1/3. But in different applications, there will be different kind of chips. Currently, Taiwan, in terms of memory chips, we are not so strong. South Korea is very strong. Whereas all the other 2 categories of chips, Taiwan made a lot. How about the Taiwan position of semiconductor industrial industries? as I said, that Taiwan, from 2011 to 2022, Taiwan consistently become the #1 in the foundry, packaging, and testing, as well as #2 in the IC design. The #1 of IC design is from the United States. So, Taiwan's share in the global semiconductor industries, 20% IC design, 63% of chips are all made in Taiwan. Not to mention about the 92% of the most advanced chips which is used in the quantum computing, AIs, maybe the F-35, these kind of chips, all 92% of these very advanced chips is made in Taiwan. So the packaging, testing, also 58% is in Taiwan. So currently, you see that the share is very, very high. Very curious is that 50 to 60% of our microchips is actually sold to China. So say, for example, if China attacked Taiwan and then we stop shipping the chips to China, what will happen? No. Virtually no factory in China can operate. So I don't want to go into this detail, but the semiconductor in Taiwan has become the clusters. So you have these different locations in Taiwan. In Hsinchu, that's the northern part of Taiwan, Hsinchu Science Park actually accounts for 179 the chip manufacturing industries. In Taichung Science Park, 9. In Tainan, the southern part of Taiwan, there's 23 chip manufacturing companies located in there. So the clusters of our semiconductor industry is pretty much robust and very intense. And that's why it makes that even though there's a diversification of our chip making to Germany, to United States, to Japan, still, Taiwan will dominate chip making in the next decades. And why this is the case? Because trend in the future about the chips, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, 5G communications, cloud computing, electric vehicles, quantum computing, autonomous drivings, all made in Taiwan. Now, I show this person is called David Huang. He's a Taiwanese. He's the current CEO of NVIDIA. He just went to Taiwan for the night market survey of our food, whether it's good or bad. But he's the one of the futures. All NVIDIA's AI chips are made in Taiwan. This one, Linda Su, is the CEO of AMD, which usually is a counterpart of Intel. She's now also, the company also doing a lot of AI chips, all manufactured in the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturer companies. So in a sense that all the AI chips are made in Taiwan. What I would like to say is that if there's anything happening in Taiwan, you know the consequences about our futures. Now, I don't want to exaggerate the consequences, but just take the word from the U.S. State Secretary, Tony Blinken, has a remark in early July. He said that 50% of the global commerce goes through the Taiwan Strait every day. And 70% of our semiconductor made to the world is from Taiwan. And if Taiwan Strait have some accidents, conflict, you can imagine what's the consequences. Now, Taiwan has been always matter to the world, except no one to talk about Taiwan because the mighty China asked you not to talk about Taiwan. Remember, in the 1970s and 80s, Taiwan is a manufacturer hub of the textile, shoes, toys. And in the 90s and early 2000s, Taiwan manufactured a lot of ICT products, flat panels, mobile phones, or the laptop, computers. And these sort of things, Taiwan has been always matter to the world, but people prefer not to talk about Taiwan. But not talking about Taiwan does not mean that Taiwan does not exist. And the challenge of Taiwan could be a challenge to the world. So I would like to say that if there's what happens if there's a disruption of trade or the war in the Taiwan Strait, I think that there will be a catastrophic consequences. Now, I'll give you some idea how likely that the scenario will go for war about the Taiwan Strait situations. I don't think that the full-out invasion, like the Russia invaded Ukraine, will happen, because it's very difficult. The operation in Taiwan is quite different from operation in Ukraine. Whereas Taiwan, we have a 200-kilometer wide of Taiwan Strait. Any amphibious landing exercise would be tremendous, very difficult. And China does not have enough vessels to bring in the soldiers to Taiwan. If you use the Normandy's experience, five members of attacking force can overcome just one defending forces. So currently, Taiwan has a very effective, about 130,000 effective soldiers. Then China needs to bring in at least 650 soldiers to the Taiwan island in order to conquer Taiwan. So I think this scenario could be very, very difficult, very challenging for Chinese People Liberation Armies. So I think that it could be very difficult. Of course, China would like to copy the Putin scripts to have a so-called quick surgery attack of Taiwan by parachuting the special forces into the capital city, Taipei, and doing the decapitations exercise to remove our president and set up the puppet regimes. But that's also a very difficult exercise, because that having known that China have this strategy, Taiwan also deploy very, very strong forces surrounding the fort around Taipei. That could be very difficult. So then it leaves out the most dangerous one. That's the blockade. Blockade, I think, is likely. It will not have a large bloodshed in the battlefield, but blockade will actually some kind of a scenario that China would like to do. If you just read into the recent military exercise surrounding the Taiwan Islands, they are indicating that People Liberation Army are doing this kind of exercise, try to close up all the surrounding waters of Taiwan to see whether it's a possibility to blockade Taiwan. Then, if there's a blockade of Taiwan, that would be another problem, because, as I said, 50% of the trade in the Northeast Asia, Japan, Korea will be affected. But at the same time, if there's any unblockade exercise by Japan or United States, that would trigger the direct conflict between the major power like China, Japan, and United States. It's very dangerous. And according to the Rhodium's estimations, if there's a blockade in the Taiwan Strait, the war will lose 1.6 trillion US dollars revenues simply because of this directly, by this blockade, which will affect the sectors like automobile, microcontrollers, smartphone, graphic processing, this PC stuff. But then if you added additional further ramifications of this blockade effect, then several trillions dollars of the US dollars were lost to the war. According to the CNN report, if there's a blockade scenario in Taiwan, the factory around the world will stop within 2 weeks. Why this is the case? If you don't have chips, you don't have a sensor to control your chips. Chips control the sensor. If you don't have a sensor, then all kind of automatic operation could have a problem. And this is what happened. That if there's a chips shortage or blockade in Taiwan Strait, that would be a disaster for everybody. So, why I should mention this? And I think that when the economists say that Taiwan is the most dangerous place, which may be true, but I think it's a bit exaggerated. Taiwan is the most threatened places in the world. That could be the case. But the most threatened places in the world does not equal to the most dangerous place in the world. So I still encourage you to visit Taiwan before it's become too dangerous. So please visit Taiwan. If there's anything that my office can do for you, please feel free to contact our office. Our office in Bern is trying to enhance the connection between the business in Switzerland and Taiwan, especially for the SMEs. And I hope that maybe you have some Q&A would like to ask me how we can do that. I'd be happy to answer that questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David.
Time's
We
up?
have- No,
Okay.
perfect timing.
Okay.
May I invite you to have a seat for a few follow-up questions, maybe also from the audience. Let me ask you one thing, because you were mentioning all the number one status of Taiwan, talking about the semiconductors. Why semiconductors in Taiwan? What made Taiwan so specifically well in producing them?
Well, I think it goes up as early as the 1980s, late 1980s, when a lot of scientists in the Silicon Valley returned to Taiwan, tried to build up the semiconductor industry. You know, Morris Chang was denied by the United States government in the United States to set up the foundry factories in the United States. So he went back to Taiwan, and then our government obviously think that this is the future of the Taiwan economy. So our government do a lot of coordination, maybe some sort of tax incentive for them to build up these foundry industries in Taiwan. Then it become the clusters. You know, to build up the microchips factory is not that easy. Look what happened. That TSMC now encounter a lot of challenge when it set up in its first ever factory in United States, in Arizona. Even the building these so-called dustless chambers require a lot of coordinations. And then in Taiwan, we are not short of this. And as a result of this kind of robust to the upstream to the downstreams integration of these semiconductor industries, it becomes some kind of models that Taiwan can export to other countries. So we are so proud of that TSMC can select other location to build up the semiconductor factories in there. But again, as I said, that it's very, very difficult to challenge Taiwan's dominance situation right now. You know, TSMC would like to build up the 2 nanometers factory in Kaohsiung, that's the southern part of Taiwan. They announced that, but within 48 months, they are going to make the first productions. Whereas in the United States, they announced 3 years ago to build up the factory, to build up the 7 nanometers, the chips, still nowhere to reach to the end of this kind of So you see that a lot of coordination is very, very subtle. And you require a lot of effort of local government and together with the cooperation with the government sectors to see whether the industry can grow. So focus on the semiconductor was one of our chief economic policies during the 80s. And the government put a lot of effort in order to make it happen. So we are fortunate to have these semiconductor industries. Otherwise, Taiwan will be disappear in the map.
Not if we come for visiting. It was very impressive how you were talking us through the different tactics that China could invade Taiwan. So how does the citizens of Taiwan live with that constant fear?
Well, it's a very interesting question. I would encourage you to visit Taiwan so that you can to feel about our fear. In fact, that if you are in Taiwan, nobody talking about China. We've been threatened by China for decades, not for days, for decades. China threat Taiwan is become a daily exercise. So I often say that there's no point to fear other than fear itself. For Taiwan, what we need is for the well-prepared that moment to come. And in fact, this is the case that Taiwan trying to do. So thanks to our Swiss friend, because Taiwan right now try to copy your civil defense systems and also your shelters. It seems to us that it's quite valuable knowledge for us. We have the knowledge to build semiconductors, chips, but we don't have the knowledge to build very, very well-rounded shelters like our Swiss friends do. So I think this is a very good combination that we can learn from you.
Maybe we have one question from the audience, because we have 2 minutes time. Is there anybody with enough? Yep, I have a microphone here. Wonderful.
Hello, so I'm Alicia. I'm from the University of Applied Sciences in Bern. I'm a student. And my question is, you talked about the threatening of China, but what is the future of Taiwan regarding SMA? It's like further going forward, or what could the future look like for you?
I think if you ask the most Taiwanese what they would like to choose in the futures, they would say that they would maintain the status quo. And what do they mean by maintaining the status quo in the Taiwan Strait? Which means that we are democracy. We would like to preserve our way of life in Taiwan, like as a democracy, enjoy the freedom, democracy, and the human rights. Of course, that for any democracy, you know, you need to go through the vote, you go through the elections. Let people decide what about the futures. And the Taiwanese people right now are very smart to say that, we are not discussing about our future, whether we are going to go for a full independence or whether we are going to reunify with China. This is not our question. This is not our choice. We don't have a choice. Now, our choice is to maintain the status quo, which means that, well, Taiwan and China, somehow we are not interfere to each other. And if you don't attack us, we are not try to, push China into the corners. So in a sense that I think this is what happens in Taiwan. The Taiwanese people are smart enough not to provoke the attack from China. But at the same time, we will not retreat or conceded our basic values. And this is what Taiwanese people want. And so that's why they answer that we will have maintain the status quo. Status quo means that we preserve our way of life as a democracy. We respect the human rights and our individual freedoms. But then Taiwanese people are also smart enough to say that in terms of future, let the people decide it. You know, democracy means it's open-ended result. We cannot say right now, okay, you rule out one options. You rule out one option as to go for a full independence, or you rule out another option to go to unify with China. So let people decide. I think that's what Taiwanese people would like to say.
No more question now about the war in Taiwan. But one last question, because you have to catch a train. How about the Swiss industry, Swiss companies in Taiwan? How big is their influence to Taiwan business?
I think currently there are 300 Swiss companies located in Taiwan, 300. Most doing a lot of component trade with Taiwan. For example, the bicycle components. You know, in fact, that you imported a lot of bicycle components from Taiwan to Switzerland. And I still remember during the COVID period, there was always a delay of the shipments of these components. As a result of this delay, you know what? I have my Swiss friend complain that when I order the e-bike in the bicycle shop, I have to wait for 4 months. And then I said, where the component come from? It will come from Taiwan. And then I said, wow, then why not we just promote some sort of direct air cargoes? Right? So if we have an air cargo directly fly from Taipei into the Zurich, you don't have this problem. You remove 4 months' waste, and then everybody happy. So I think there are a lot of things that perhaps that we can cooperate to each other. One last thing I would like to encourage our friends here, because you're doing the SME, and I know that for SME to do business across the continent, you need a lot of efforts. You need to overcome a lot of obstacles. But in Taiwan, there's one agency called TAITRA. It's like Taiwan Trade Promotion Association. Please make the best use of these associations. Whenever you want to venture into the Taiwanese market or try to find a Taiwanese partner, this TAITRA can help you. They can even help you to match, but also help you to have a one-on-one consultation and matching process. So this is the one I would, for me to give you to take away. You know, this is something that valuable information. And the TAITRA actually do a lot of good job in order to forge the connections in not just an investment opportunity, but also the transparency of the information. Usually, if you go to Taiwan, you don't know the language, you have some different regulations. TAITRA offer you a one-stop shops for you to engage with Taiwan business. So if you have any questions about these business connections, feel free to contact my office. I will leave our office informations. And my director in the economic division, Mr. Steve Young, is ready to help you to do that kind of connections.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm always having an eye on the watch, and now it's time, because I'm responsible that you do not miss that train, because I would get really into trouble with that. So thank you so much. It was a real pleasure having you here with sharing this information. Thank you very much, Mr. David Huang.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.